Hi there lovelies, welcome to my channel. Today we're doing a rant. We're just going to get right into it. I know that my hair looks like a mess. I'm trying out different hair products and it's clearly not working well. But we're creating this look and we're having a bit of a rant about Colourpop, so let's just jump straight into it. Of course, the irony is I'm using mostly Colourpop products that I've bought today to show you because this is apparently irony with Bryony. You're welcome. Don't worry, that's never going to catch on. It's fine. So this whole video is not about Colourpop's history. There are great videos that actually already cover that. I haven't done a review on this palette because this will kind of serve as it. This video is about Colourpop's issues, their lack of inclusivity, which has been especially raised from the black community, in their future. So really we're doing like a whole bunch of different stuff on this. And also, like, I had to spend a lot of time on Colourpop's Instagram and like their website for this, so I think that I deserve a medal for the fact that I didn't buy anything. Or is it a sign of something else that's wrong? Who knows? But really there's not very much from Colourpop that catches my eye now, and I sort of feel like it's that way for a lot of people. Like, the packaging for some things are cute, like the theming for some things are cute, but it's just like the execution is off and like the entire picture just feels very rushed. Look how well this like little colour is turning up on my pale as skin, by the way. You noticed that, huh? Wow. Imagine if I was like any bit darker than the colour of my top. Now I will of course be the first to say that pastels are kind of like my preferred aesthetic, as you can probably tell. So for me it's typically been like, oh, I like the colour of that palette, I like those colours because anything will basically work on me because I'm as white as a ghost, and that's kind of how I've functioned for a very long time. And Colourpop, for someone who can't afford very much, it's always been like a really good go-to, and this is not me telling you to boycott them at all, it's just, we're just having a chat. I mean, obviously I've supported them many times over many years. So I didn't really used to think about like how the palettes would like impact all skin tones, and the manipulation tactics that are actually quite heavily used by Colourpop to make palettes look quite different. Like for example, this palette, this is how it looks in real life. So you see how pale that is? Let's just have a look at this in comparison to how they have marketed it. Bingo! Do you notice anything different? This palette is so pale, I can't even explain just how pastel it is. But they've tried to market this in a trance palette in a way that it comes across as something that all skin tones can use, and if even I struggle, like I'm just going to show you the blue right now, if even I struggle to be able to get pigmentation, how are others meant to like get anything? Trash, trash, and more trash. When you buy from Colourpop, like it's kind of like getting a plastic bag full of more plastic and then trash that you need to throw out that's plastic and plastic and plastic and plastic everywhere. Plastic, literally everything is plastic. Oh, and of course a mirror, because you need a mirror. I have said before, I do prefer palettes with mirrors in them because it makes it a lot easier for when I do this. When I do my general day-to-day makeup, I have like a standing mirror, but right now I am on a floating sea of nothingness with only a chair next to me that is holding everything, so I have to stoop down all the time for that. So this is handy. So that is my personal non-eco-friendly bias, because mirrors cannot be recycled. Okay, so the PR packaging that gets sent to influencers is pretty much the same way that it gets sent to us. I think that Raw Beauty Christie actually did like showcase this really well with her beautiful collection. That was like one of the last spurts of creativity that we've seen from them, and that's because someone else made it. I'm just saying what we've all been thinking. I'm still heavily tempted by that palette, by the way. But really, like, this is what I mean. I'm so glad that I baked. So what gets sent to the influencers and customers is pretty much the same. It's just a lot of plastic, a lot of bubble wrap, a lot of stuff effectively wrapped in more stuff, which then has got films and stuff on it that you need to take and then put in the trash. Like the trash that I have gotten previously from just opening up a Colourpop package is actually huge. It takes up like half of like the bin that's in our room. But because they can create things to such a fast turnaround according to them, except for the fact that they can't restock items that we want them to restock, this gives them the capacity in order to make as much trash as what they do and constantly churn it out. So it's like if you are on their PR list, you'll be getting this stuff at least every fortnight, and it's just another box of stuff that you have to somehow use, create a video out of, and then get ready for the next entire collection that will probably come out the next week. And it's like it's so much. It is just the fast fashion of the cosmetics industry. And the thing is that this is what the creators wanted. They actually wanted to create the fast fashion of the makeup industry. This is like from an interview that I had a look at. Like, this is what they want. So they've definitely achieved it, but at what cost? That's the real question that we need to be asking. Going with this colour here, with the glitter in the colour, because why? Colourpop seasons are like fast fashions, as in they come out every week or every fortnight. As someone that worked in fast fashion but didn't actually realise it, this is 100% obvious when you actually see it. I had a look into like their past collections and how fast they came out with things. So they were founded in 2014, minor history lesson, and from about 2018 is when things really started to ramp up. There is an entire website that is dedicated to like each of their new releases, and on here you can actually see, like, I think it's from, is it August? So there would be an entire collection every single month. Personally, I think that they should go back to that format where they just come out with 12 collections a year. Like, then that's still a lot of makeup, but it's not like it's 52. We don't need 52 collections. I mean, 12 is even like more than enough, and it could be more curated. It could be just, oh, it would be amazing. It would be like in Raw Beauty Christie effects all the time. So in 2019 they were still doing like a lot of collabs, so like ones with Kathleen Lights, and then there was also a Zoella one, and I was like, whoa, this really was a while ago. But basically from August in 2018 is when it really started to ramp up. In my mind, I think that they actually just got the greater capacity from like making and marketing all of like Kylie Jenner's products, and then they were like, actually, like, that can take care of the elite stuff. We are fast fashion, we're just gonna churn. And that kind of feels like the exact vibe of what they had. I'm trying to use every colour in this palette, but it is a little challenging. Some of these palettes and collections I honestly don't even recognise at all, and I've been a makeup lover for a very long time, so for me to not recognise them, it's definitely quite something, I must say. I know this is their Super Shock formula and people love it, but it's just like, oh. And so with these collections you can probably see that there are some issues that are sort of like coming up. Of course, from the way that things are actually photographed, they can look deeper than what they are, but when it comes to the lip products, like, remember when we used to like really want our lips to be like dry as a desert, and like we were super dehydrated all the time. We were like, oh, but it lasts all day though. As our lips were cracking. Yeah, so those days, like those products, I would always find that they turned out darker, but the eyeshadows always seemed to be a bit like chalkier and lighter than how they were actually photographed in like the PR, because there's definitely editing that's been going on in order to like make things look more inclusive than what they have been. Now, I'm not someone to talk about this. Amanda has made amazing videos on this. Like, her saltiness and her expertise with delivery is amazing. And then there's also Too Much Mouth, and I actually think that Jackie Aina has talked about this as well. See, look. So what I find with this palette in particular is like the colours just fade as they're on my skin, so I actually have to intensify to make sure I've still got like some colour showing up. So to me, formulas are created without like a specific like cohesive vision in mind, because it's like you can see what I'm creating here with this sort of like Aurora Borealis sort of like effect, but this is almost like the only thing that you can create with this palette because that's just how it lends itself. Now look, sometimes that is the aesthetic you want to go for, but what I'm saying is like, it's not something that is like really well thought out in terms of the formulations. Should I tell you which ones are terrible? This one's terrible, that one's terrible, that could be annoying, that is annoying as all hell because of the glitter getting everywhere. This is actually okay, this is okay, but again the glitter and just fallout from this shade. And then this one I just find creases massively, and of course then you have like a loose glitter, which I didn't actually realise because I bought this in a haste and I didn't follow my own advice. The way that they're formulated, the way that the formulas work, it's like, well, what were you expecting to do with like a salmon colour? Like, the salmon doesn't make any sense, especially being like that sort of shade. Like, what would you use in the crease with that? It's just, the story behind it doesn't make sense with the way that they formulated it, because you've got two shimmers here, and it's like, so you're expecting to put those ones on the like lid. Normally that's where a shimmer goes, but this isn't dark enough of a colour to be able to put in the crease to contrast it. So what I'm saying is like, it hasn't been thought out well enough. It's more aesthetically pleasing, and it sort of feels like that's the goal. They just want to create something that's for the gram, and it's not actually a cohesive story in terms of both looks and formulation and what people can do with it all. Well, I haven't used this in this look, but I'll try and put it under my eye. Powdery, and oh, look at that. Oh wow, look at that colour payoff. Ooh, wow. You see what I mean? And now I've got it all in my eye. If this had had a bit more time on it, what I'm saying is like, it would be so much better than what it is. I wouldn't even mind paying a little bit more for it, because then I'll be able to use it more in a way where I don't have to constantly keep on coming back and then trying to pack on colour and struggling with it, you know? If they allowed their creative people, because I'm not doubting the fact that they've got creative people in there, it's just if you allow them to have more time, the creative process takes so much longer than what people realise, which is why YouTubers tend to come up with like content maybe every 2 weeks, even if they do it full time. Like, it takes a lot more effort in a different way when we're not used to using our brains. So it's like, I just wish that they had like the foresight to really use that, because I know that Raw Beauty Christie with hers, and same as with Kathleen Lights when she did hers, like, and like there are a number of other people, like Bretman Rock's collection was actually really well thought out as well. So what I'm saying is like, you've got these content creators that are actually like pouring their heart and soul into it. Like, that should be it for every single collection, but it just doesn't feel that way. It kind of feels more like same but like a little bit different, which we'll just talk about right now. It really hurts. So how many monochromatic palettes do we actually need? Because I think we've covered the entire rainbow about 3 times now. Now I just want to talk about this. I've gone through Colourpop's Instagram going back to 2018. That was a lot of scrolling. They've got over 11,000 posts on there. I kept going and my computer froze for a while because there was too much. One thing that I noticed is like with these monochromatic palettes, so they use some shades which they have included previously to then put in the monochromatic palettes, and then the monochromatic 9-pan palettes feel to have been reduced down into like the 5-pan palettes, and then also in some cases with 4-pan palettes. And then there is another issue with a bit of theft that's been going on. You know how I love my September Rose Cosmetics palettes, like the Slush and the Slush 2? I'm just going to put them side by side for you right here so you can have a look-see. So you've got Into Hue by Colourpop, and then you've also got September Rose Cosmetics Slush palette. Now September Rose have actually highlighted this because I follow them on their stories, and I looked at it and I was like, ooh, it's very similar. If you took out those pressed glitters, then like hide. It's the same thing. Also, everyone hates the pressed glitters. Just get rid of them, please. Can you just team up with bio glitter? See, look, that is already starting to crease on my eye. Colourpop in 2019, they were doing like their 9-pan palettes, like I think it was that smoke one, or was it Just My Luck? So we can just transition straight across to Just My Luck to compare like how this has been wearing in comparison to how the Just My Luck palette has been wearing. And the Just My Luck palette has been reviewed really well, because I mean, look at it. So I've only used a few of the colours today, but we can already start to see the trends that I'm talking about, obviously, in this video. So I've used Charmed, Olive Hue and Mary Jane, and all of them apply really well. You can actually blend out the Charmed very easily, which is great. But at the same time, I still notice that with Chances Are, this pastel, that's never been a really good shade. You have to like have a wet base underneath it in order to like try and make it work, so I can't even imagine what this would be like for a deeper skin tone. Very good in 2019, and I understand why they kept it around, because it's a very good palette in comparison to a few other items. I'm never going to get a brand deal with them after this, am I? I love that palette. That palette was well thought out, and that was kind of like the start of it all. Monochromatic mania, and it was just constantly about that. And then they came out with like really ill thought together like other palettes, which were just flopping because like it's so easy creatively to put together a single color palette. You're like, okay, yellows, I can do all of this stuff with yellows and that will all work together because I don't really have to think too hard. And it's like, yeah, we can have foils in this, and then we just got that sorted. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a much simpler concept to push than like actually coming together with like, again, I keep bringing her up, but Raw Beauty Christie's palette, like that's a lot more challenging to come up with. There are definitely similarities, and you know the new quads that they come out with, so they've literally just launched the cheek quads to go along with the eye quads, because people were like, we want smaller palettes, because they've been screaming, we want bigger palettes. Apparently it's like, who's asking for this stuff? I'm nervous about putting this one under my eye because of all the glitter that's in it. I could see all the powder flying off then. Because it really does just feel like Colourpop are repeating the same old things that they've done time and time again. Let's look at these comparisons, right? Like, I went through a whole bunch of pictures and I was like, oh, that's really similar to this. Like, if you take out 4 colours from this palette, you'll be able to just put them straight here and then you found them again. Like, it feels like things are just being repackaged and we're falling for it. You work hard for your money. I don't want people to get manipulated out of it by being like, oh, but that's a new but that's new packaging, like that's so much easier to carry around in like this world that we still can't travel in, you know? Like, I just don't want people being taken advantage of. I don't really think that that's fair. In terms of quality, I'm just going to show you these. This eyeliner, phenomenal. These two, terrible. Colourpop have come out with like a number of these quads. Well, the one day that this doesn't apply like absolute trash is when I'm trying to prove a point that it is trash. My gosh. Let's have a look at Colourpop's blushes. So pretty much you have a pink and you've got a peach, and that's typically what they do for their blushes, right? Like, again, Amanda actually pointed out that before they would actually include shades that were like darker, deeper, so then they'd actually account for everyone's needs. But like with each collection, like if you look at Lizzie McGuire, if you look at Animal Crossing, if you look at like the Sailor Moon ones, you can look at any of the collections and you just see like a peach and a pink. And only now that they've actually involved like people of colour who don't even work at Colourpop advising them, you're actually starting to get like colours which are starting to introduce like colours that will work for black people. And of course, like, a lot of this is performative activism, because if you look back, before Black Lives Matter movement really took like a big step in like 2020, in their feed, like they only have like the token sort of smattering like every couple of pages down. So let's actually just talk about their lack of shade range, shall we? So again, Amanda covers this, Too Much Mouth, Jackie Aina. So I know that the Stone Cold Fox palette is really popular. I can fully understand why. But like, how many of those shades will work for deeper skinned people? And so you know what they did in order to like rectify all of this? They came out with a palette which I will just label as definitely the R word. That was the Into the Wild palette, I believe. Because it's not at all racist to actually put a black people's palette with a traditionally African animal print. Is it? It's not. They just didn't quite think this stuff through. So they had Sharon Shute get involved, you know, creator of Irma Beauty, amazing person. And she's also the creator of Pull It for Change. I've got an entire video on her. She's an amazing person. You should learn more about her. So she got involved and they were doing this Make It Black collection. Because of Black History Month and all of this other performative stuff that tends to happen. And so they came up with colours that would actually work for black people, and typically the colours that will work for black people will still work for paler people, except for like possibly things like blushes and like contour powders. But like eyeshadows, that's fine. So it's like, why can't... What's taking you so long from all of the performative stuff that you were doing last year, and then you still came out with like these consistently ashy palettes? Like, there's a lot of ash when you look at Colourpop's entire collection. It's only really with, again, Raw Beauty Christie. You could make an argument for Kathleen Light's collection with them, but a lot of it tends to be like made for my skin tone that will work for me, whereas if you put those colours on a black person or someone that, as Amanda says, the paper bag test, it won't actually work for them. So there's been a complete lack of inclusivity, so that's why they made this pledge to work with people from the community to actually make changes with this. And I'm like, okay, cool, well, it's 2021 now. Again, this is not my issue to fight, it's my issue to raise the voices of, so I don't really want to go stepping on people's toes. I'm just highlighting the fact that this has been a trend for a long time. And it's a trend for a lot of brands, but when Colourpop has the ability, like they say, to make things within a span of a couple of weeks and create an entirely new line, then how come they haven't been able to actually make these sorts of innovations to include deeper colours that will work for deeper skin tones? Like, And Amanda also raised the point that they took away products which were specifically formulated for deeper skin tones, like blushes and stuff, which used to be popular in like 2017. They just discontinued them. And again, that leads me on to our next point. Restocking wear. So you want to buy either of these? Because you can't. And yes, I did wear these blushes for my wedding day. I'm just putting it out there. That's what I mean. I do still support Colourpop. I'm just pointing out some issues. So I feel like for this look I need to go in with floating lights. This isn't a terrible formulation for blush, it's just not the best. If you want a good blush, try Nabla. So my favourite lipstick, which I did also wear on my wedding day, I can't find that anymore. Same as a lot of lipsticks that I really like from them actually. Like the Sophia Nygaard collab, like I wanted some of those lipsticks, and unless you bought them right then and there, you weren't able to get them. So like I said, they say that they've got the capacity and the capability to keep on making products at a super high rate, super high speed. They can do all of this, then why can't they restock the things that we want? Why do we just keep getting more new stuff? Like I would like a permanent Colourpop collection that was like very highly curated and just well done for everyone. Their lack of permanence in terms of like the stuff that they want to create just signifies even more the fact that they just care about that fast fashion approach, which isn't really something that anyone should be aiming for, because as we've seen from reports that keep on coming out, consumerism is actually causing so many issues, and constantly buying stuff is not helping anyone. So the only reason that they're actually restocking the Raw Beauty Christie one is because it's like pretty much the only creative thing that they've done in the past couple of years that isn't like stealing other people's ideas or just coming up with something that would be like catchy and look good on Instagram. What they started with, Super Shocks, this kind of greasy formula that actually does apply well on some people, unless you're like me and you've got oily skin. But it's just such a shame to have seen like good things come out of Colourpop that just disappear. And I know that I'm not the only one to have had this thought. I know that I'm not the only one that's like been spouting this, because this has been coming again from the black community for a long time. We're talking about it now because it's affecting the rest of us, just like with a number of other issues. Let's have a chat about that quality, shall we? So you can see I have a number of lip products from them. The lip liners I enjoy. This brow pomade that is the colour of baby poop, which is called Champagne Blonde, which is actually green. And also this eyeliner that arrived dry, so I haven't been able to actually use it at all, so again, wasted money. I'm not shading people for needing to buy cheaper products, because so you can see, like, I live in Auckland, it is hella expensive. What I'm saying is like the cheaper products can be made better and more inclusively, and also like without pushing like the need on us to like constantly buy whatever BS they're coming out with just because you don't actually know if it's going to be around for long. Like, we know that with fast fashion is like you're lucky if it's in stores for a month and then it's gone. And honestly, like, we don't know if it's going to be the same with this. So you see like a really pretty Instagram post and you're like, oh my gosh, like I want that, that looks amazing, it looks like it'll work really well. And then you buy it because of the hype, and then you're just disappointed when it actually arrives and you're like, oh, the eyeshadows are way more powdery than I was expecting. Oh, like this shade range doesn't actually come out the same way as what it was photographed. Oh, like there's something else that is wrong with it. Oh no, this lip gloss is actually like just gloop. Like, you know what I mean? It's like there are definitely issues around the quality, which we're just going to talk about now. I'm sorry if you can hear that, my neighbour has decided to mow their entire lawn with their weed whacker. So let's talk about the quality of Colourpop. Now, I like affordable makeup as much as the next person. I've definitely relied on it a lot in my life. And like I said, I wore Colourpop to my wedding. We do have to admit at some point that the quality is definitely lacking with Colourpop though. Now, this is where you probably go, Gabby Hanna on me, you need to manage your expectations, like, fine, whatever, I get it. But the thing is, like, they've made really good makeup previously, and we've seen that they've got the capability to make good makeup, so why can that not be the case all the time? I can feel that it's gloopy gloss now. It's not even old. Because it's like, if you're saying that I'm expecting too much of a price point, then how come I can get really good quality stuff from e.l.f., which is like the same price point as what Colourpop is? You know what I mean? It's like, we know that they've got the capability for amazing stuff. It's just, they've been like kicking us to the curb for ages because they're like, oh, we'll just do easy thing, next thing. It's like, You don't have to be the fast fashion of the makeup world in order to succeed. I know that's how they've gotten their success, but everyone's like turning against fast fashion. It just makes sense to me for Colourpop to actually change their strategy a bit to make sure it's actually not, it's just not focused on having to churn things out so quickly and in just an aesthetically pleasing way, as opposed to stuff that actually all works well together, stuff that performs well. I do know that a lot of their eyeshadows can be powdery, but people are okay with it because of the price point. And it also gets to the point where people are like, I'll just buy all of this stuff from Colourpop and it's okay if like I only like half of it because it's so cheap. Like whatever, I can buy like all of this for the price of like one really nice thing from a brand. And it's like, it's kind of reminded me of the way that Walmart kind of got to be so big, and same as with Amazon. Like if you undercut the market enough, you'll be able to succeed. If that makes sense. And Colourpop do definitely have the edge by being able to have like their factory like literally right there, and they can just whip up whatever they want. They work on like apparently what people are ordering. I know that me making this video will mean that I'll never get their PR. I also personally don't think that I ever would, because they also have an ageism problem. If you have a look at their Instagram, it's very much teenagers up to the age of 25. You don't really see many people over the age of 30. I think that Raw Beauty Christie is probably like the most mature age-wise person that they've actually used. Now this isn't just a Colourpop issue. Most makeup brands are ageist. Most brands are ageist. Like I've got a whole video about how ageism affects like literally everything. What I'm ultimately saying with this video is everything feels rushed in order to get a grammable product that like hinges on nostalgia in many cases. I mean, it's like, why would they have done so much in the way of Disney or Lizzie McGuire and shows that we like and all this other stuff? They don't really have to care because they already have people hooked on cute packaging and the cheap price points. And it's like, I've seen people actually just buy the products without even wanting to use the products just because of the packaging, and I'm like, that's where we've got a problem. Like, these are products that are meant to be used. Now, I'm not a believer in like keeping the fine china aside. I'm a believer in like buying things that you'll actually use repeatedly and like make sure you get high use out of them. Like that's the sort of way that we should be shopping. Like I've talked about in many other videos, like there's many issues with consumerism as a whole, but like if you are going to buy something, you'd want to make sure it would be something that you'd use a lot, right? Because like money is finite, time is finite, your space is finite, especially if you're like living in an expensive city like what we are. Like you don't have all of this space to constantly be getting more and more stuff, and it's just like they function on that. That's their whole business plan. It's just the fact that there is so much hit and miss from them. The fact that they've had to bring external people in order to get any inclusivity, and the creativity is down and the quality isn't really great. It's just like, well, why wouldn't I just buy from e.l.f.? You know, like I still love their foundation. That's still the foundation I wore on my wedding day. I'm wearing it today because it's that good. Like you can get good drugstore products, so it's like, why do we feel like Colourpop should be this amazing thing just because they do colours? Like, cool, there's other brands that do great colours. Thank you lovelies for sticking around for this rant. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Like I said, I already know that I'm not going to be on their PR list. That's fine. I'm just really keen to hear your thoughts. So thank you lovelies again. I'll see you all next Tuesday for another deep dive. If you have any other suggestions for me as well, I'm getting hand surgery, so I really do appreciate them because I need to do a whole bunch of pre-work because I won't be able to do anything for a couple of weeks because of my hand. So appreciate it. Thank you lovelies. Bye. Carrying on. I refuse to go to jail for murder. God, shut up, shut up, shut up. Why does nobody want me to film today? She is wrecking that like hedge trimmer. Like, I can see so much smoke billowing out from it. Anyway.